Hello everyone, how you doing? My name is Terry. I am one of Tandi's friends from high school. She asked me to come on today because we wanted to discuss a little bit about men's mental health, and I wanted to come on and speak a little bit about my own experiences from my perspective, and share my views on how it's affected me over my lifetime. So my experiences are going to be my own. Everyone has their own experiences, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about how that's affected me. And again, it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think it's important to have these types of discussions and speak freely. So I'm going to be speaking a little bit about moving abroad, culture shock, and the adjustments and the amount of strain that takes on people. As well as that, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own issues, my own problems, or things I've had to deal with mental health, mostly revolving around anxiety and anxiousness, because that's something I have struggled with for a large part of my own life, and it's something that I've dealt with and I've had to learn how to cope with in different situations. So I think let's start off with culture shock and moving abroad. I moved from Zimbabwe when I was about 12 years old, and I moved to Nigeria. Two very different cultures, two very different types of people, in my opinion. Zimbabweans a little more reserved, Nigerians a bit more outgoing and outspoken. But when you're within the community itself, you realize that's just how everyone is. No one is really outspoken if everyone is speaking their mind. So it was a massive culture shock, and really something that took a while for me to adjust to. I'm happy that I was able to do that, though, and really I think it came down to understanding that my way of thinking and my way of understanding things does not always mean it's correct. I kind of had to open myself up to that. What are the signs and symptoms of expat depression? How can it be addressed? So I think expat depression, or being out of your country for a long period of time, or even a short period of time, will probably manifest itself by you becoming a lot more reserved, your demeanor changing, your attitude changing. I think once you find yourself isolated from everybody else for long periods of time, that's probably when you kind of need to look inward and see what's going on. That's why I'm always an advocate of making, even if it's 2 or 3 close friends that you can rely on, speak to. I'm fortunate enough to have made those friends relatively early on when I moved to Dubai. I moved to Dubai after I finished high school for uni, and I've been here ever since. So I've been here for about 13 years. Obviously, I go back to Zimbabwe. I try to go on a yearly basis or bi-yearly basis. How can men maintain social connections and build a support network in a new country? Now, that's very difficult. I think if you're younger, it's probably a lot easier than it is when you get older. But obviously, it all starts from, the people that you can get to know. So if it's work, if it's school, really pushing yourself to be uncomfortable to build those connections. I think for some people it's not uncomfortable. For me personally, it is uncomfortable, but for some people it comes naturally. But for me, I had to work outside of myself to kind of make those connections. Once you've made those connections, it's amazing. At least for me, it was awesome, because then I could speak freely, openly, and really discuss, those deep topics. And, some of my closest friends now are from, Sudan, Afghanistan, Libya, Kenya, and that's because they live in Dubai as well. And I was able to make those connections with them. What strategies can help men manage feelings of loneliness and isolation abroad? Being lonely and isolated abroad is something that happens, I think, for a period of time to a lot of people. I think you really have to be open to speak to people outside of formal environments. So outside of school, outside of work, inviting your co-workmates or your schoolmates to go out, and just putting yourself out there and truly trying to speak to people and be consistent with them, so you can try build a relationship with them. Again, it's easier said than done, and it's a very difficult thing to do. I remember when I moved to Dubai for the first time, it wasn't my schoolmates that I got close to, it was the people who lived in my community. And I forced myself to go to those social gatherings, like, they play football and basketball, so I'd sign up, I'd go play, and I'd have those conversations afterwards with people. And now those same people I met 13 years ago, some of my closest friends, and we still talk and meet today. And yeah, I would say just put yourself out there. How can men navigate language barriers? Again, the internet is your friend in this scenario. Just make sure that you will have access to the internet. So the internet is your friend in this case, but it is difficult. The language barrier thing is hard, I think, but as long as you speak like English, everyone should be able to speak that language where you go. So I would probably say the internet is your friend when things get difficult. How can men maintain a work-life balance and prioritize self-care in a new and challenging environment? It's super important to understand that you need to take care of yourself. That needs to be a priority. So you have to be able to prioritize a list, your family and friends, or your health first, or family and friends, then, let's say then your work, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously your faith up there as well. And once you have your priorities in check, it becomes a lot easier to know when to do things and when not to do things. Just once you get into those situations where you have to make that decision, that's the moment you really have to be like, okay, maybe now I need a break. Let me pause for a little bit and then move forward. How can men access and afford mental health services in their host country? Again, the internet is your friend. A lot of the issues that I dealt with in terms of my anxiety and my anxiousness, I did a lot of reading online to try and understand why that is, and I worked through that. And I've been fortunate enough to push myself out of my comfort zone to become more open-minded about having conversations with people, to become more open-minded about putting myself out there and really speaking to family and friends about the issues or the things that bother me the most. How can men prioritize their mental health during transition or process of moving abroad? Again, I think as long as you're in communication with your family and friends, and you're able to speak about those things that bother you the most, it becomes a lot easier. Being super reserved when living with your own thoughts can be a daunting thing. So I think reaching out and having conversations is important. Having people who hold you accountable as well is super important. And building meaningful connections. Like, there's building connections and there's building meaningful ones. Once you can build a meaningful connection, it becomes a lot easier to speak to someone. Yeah, I think that's it. Again, to the effects, I hope this helped in some way. To Tandi, thank you so much for having me on your channel. And happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Take care.